Welcome to the Iron Roots podcast, where we talk about sports, sustainability, and anything else that inspires us. All right, Annette, thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, no thanks.
I have been knowing you for quite some years already, I think. I haven't looked up what the earliest communication was, but I think like 4 years or something already.
Yeah, I think so, something like that.
I think we met up in Amsterdam or Almere. It was like for an interview, I think.
Yeah, I think it was before I started the gift card. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Back then I had this online magazine thing.
Yeah.
So probably for that.
I think that was it, because we were like real rookies in the scene, and we were, I think, just reaching out to a lot of platforms and people already working in sustainable fashion to see, okay, can we either be on the platform or partner up or learn something. So I think that's how we reached out to you. So that's how we started. But can you maybe shine a bit of light on the project you were working on then, because it was called Our World, right?
Yeah.
OW.
Yeah. I always did volunteer work or something also next to my official job. And then on a certain moment, I decided to do something with sustainable fashion, because I was always interested in sustainability and fashion. So I thought, why not combine it?
Yep.
I knew quite a bit about sustainability because it was part of my job. I worked in the financial sector.
Yeah.
But I didn't know much about fashion. So I just started to go to events, interview people, and wrote that down in an online magazine. And it was fun. And that got out of hand. And now we're here.
Yeah. Because you did that for quite a few years, right? The magazine.
Yeah.
Magazine.
Yeah, I think I did that for maybe 3 years or something, 2-3 years, something like that. Yeah. But before there was also a time I was just thinking about, okay, what should I do? And I read lots of reports about fashion, watched documentaries just to sort of, out of interest. And then I slowly thought, okay, what I'm going to do. And then I started that magazine. So I think I started to look into this subject a bit more seriously, I think already in 2015 or something.
That's quite early. I think that this was quite a bit before we embarked on the journey. So was it already a big topic back then, or was it really niche, like sustainable fashion, when you started out researching?
Quite a niche. There was really not much going on because I worked in the financial sector, and sustainability was, not mature maybe at that time, but there was definitely more going on compared to fashion. And that was one of the things that I found so interesting, because back then I lived in Brussels for a few months and I just had some more time on my hands, and I thought, this is really a subject I want to know more about, but never had time. So when I was there, I just started researching a bit, and I was surprised that it was so much behind the sector I was working in. Well, it's a sector that's always known about being, future forward trends, looking to the future, being modern, being, a front runner in many ways. And then on sustainability, at that period, they were so far behind. In 2015, nothing really, was going on. I think in 2017, when Fashion for Good also opened, that was really when, I don't know whether it probably didn't had anything to do with Fashion for Good, but somehow the industry back then woke up a bit. I think from that time on, I saw more initiatives popping up. Not that there were no initiatives before, like Fair Wear Foundation was founded way before 2017. But it was just really, really niche.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think also during that time, like the True Cost and documentaries like that came out as well around that time, or was it already earlier?
Yeah, that was earlier. Okay. That was before 2017, definitely.
Right.
Because that was 2013, Rana Plaza happened. And I think a few years later, the True Cost. And that was definitely before 2017, I think.
Because I remember like that was the first documentary that really opened my eyes back in the day. I watched it and I was like, it's crazy. And I was like, because like you said, you don't think about it that way. You think like, oh, this is a very trendy industry, or there's already like so many people involved and everyone has clothing. So you assume basically that things are taken care of, but then you learn about all these crazy supply chains and so many intricacies that go on within the production itself that it's really such a black box. So yeah, I remember watching the documentary and be like, wow, this is such a weird world that we have no idea what goes on at all.
Yeah.
In that sense.
And was that a documentary that sort of started, your journey towards sustainable fashion and where you are now?
Kind of, yeah. So me and my co-founder, we already were talking during that time about sportswear itself, but this was something that I think really sparked our interest in creating something different than what was already on the market. And I feel like when we had the documentary in our minds, that really shifted our perspective. Like, okay, if we're going to do something, there is opportunity to do something different and do something cool. But yeah, you have to really make people aware of it, because my background is in like sustainable building materials, stuff like that. So I was already in that scene, but fashion was something that was completely under. It wasn't really shine a light on that much back then. So I thought to myself, if this is something that we are going to embark on, we also need to make sure that we tell this story to a lot of different people, because it's such a shady thing. So yeah, definitely, I think sparked our interest in the beginning.
Yeah. But I didn't know that you were first more in building materials.
Yeah. Okay. So see, we always learn something new from each other during the...
Because it's true, like building materials were also more ahead, because when I worked at ING, like real estate was one of the pillars of the sustainability strategy. Yeah. So there was a lot of was going around already in real estate, from product passports already. I think in 2016, 17, there was this company that did product passports. And I think the first product passport in fashion is sort of now coming up.
Yeah.
So a few years later.
Yeah, which is really interesting, because people think of like the whole real estate market as a very conservative type of market. But in some senses, it's way more forward than the progressive / new age fashion industry, which is just also very, very stubborn in the ways that they've been doing things in the past how many years.
True.
Yeah. So during your time at ING, you were already focusing on sustainability there, or was it something that you got on later in your life? Like, when was the point that you were really interested in learning more and also working in the sustainability sector?
Well, I was lucky that I had two parents that were always, engaged in the environment, social issues. They were working for the government, like when they were young, for a volunteering program. Or it was not a volunteering program. I think it was like you could go either into the military or you could go and join this government volunteering program. So they went to the Philippines, and there they worked with workers. And my dad had a technical background, so he learned them to get more yield out of their land and all of that. And also my mom helped out with the community. And they lived there where when Marcos was president, so they discovered also how it is to work under to live and work under dictatorship, and when people don't have rights and people get killed and when there's impunity. So of course, when they moved back with us, they were far more engaged in those topics than I think other parents. It was never. Well, we were always taught that water is not something that's there, or sweet water is not something that is there. It's not an infinitive source or something. So be careful with using water. Don't use too much. Also with electricity, lights. that was how we grew up. Food, never throw away food. Don't throw away when the date is when it reached the date, but just see if you can still eat it. If you can still eat it, and it doesn't smell or whatever, then you can still eat it. Yeah, all these little things. And because my dad was a technician, we also had like, we were one of the first with like solar panels, because you could just do it themselves. So we had very early on, we had solar panels, or we had like a little wooden water tank for the plants. So we didn't have to use regular water, but we could use the water from the water tank. So we always had all these kind of little tricks to not use too much water, not use too much light, not use too much electricity, etc. Not use too much plastic, all those type of things. Don't eat too much meat, yeah.
So it was already ingrained from like an early age on.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And did you, because I can see that, it's all so much probably pain as well that your parents went through, but then it makes something positive out of it when they could, right?
How do you mean pain?
Well, because I can imagine it's very difficult to live under a dictatorship. You can see all the struggle that's going on there, and then.
Yeah, but it was also they really lived like in the rural area, so they were just in contact with the rural people there, and they were Dutch. They were not journalists, Filipino journalists or something. Mm-hmm. So of course it was an experience to see how that plays out if you're actually living in such a country. Yeah. But I think so for them it was easier. They were not in danger or anything, but of course they experienced how other people live with the pressure that such a president can have. But no, for them I think it was fine. They were not in danger or anything, but it's something that you have lived in and you experienced it. You were not yourself in danger, but it is something you bring back, of course, as an experience. Like, not everywhere there's a democracy. There are countries, or it could happen that you live under a reign that's not democratic. And just be aware or be conscious that where we live now in the Netherlands, where it's so logic that you can just, have freedom of speech, that it's not everywhere. So that was more, I think, what they always shared with us. Like, it can also be different. So do vote and do be engaged, because at the moment you cannot. It really affects society in a negative way. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. You almost take it for granted. I think a lot of people here that don't have lived that life or have known people who have lived there. It's just a thing that you take for granted. Yes. And also, I think that ties in nicely with sustainability in general, because here we can change things from the bottom up. Or in some countries, it's just not possible, right? It's also in some sense some luxury that we can focus on sustainability here and change things from the bottom up, or people come together and change cool things.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think the people who live in more development countries, well, they don't really have to change, because they don't waste. If you don't have anything, you don't waste. So it's, some people sometimes say, oh, isn't it weird that we, talking about this topic? Mm-hmm. But, to a certain extent, the citizens in those countries don't have to talk about it, because they already repair their things. They already don't over excessive buy clothes, because there's just simply no money. They don't have hundreds of toys. They just play with what's there. So we have to talk about it, because we are the part of the world where we do a lot of things that are not environmentally friendly. Well, people there, they already refuse because they don't have a choice.
Yeah, so we created the problem itself, essentially. We made it a problem ourselves to live that way.
Yeah. So, well, ourselves, it's of course you're part of society, and society goes in a certain way. And if you're a citizen of that society, it's of course you cannot totally deviate from that, because you're part of it, or you really have to start living your life in a really different way. But for most people, they go to school, they get a job, and then of course you're part of that society. But and then it's hard to change. But I think looking at my parents, they were really conscious about a lot of things, and I think if probably everyone has lived like that, that we weren't here.
Yeah.
Not that they were perfect, but then they weren't here. Yeah.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. So there was very early on you had that mindset already through your parents.
Yeah.
Was it also something that you were focusing on during your studies, or?
Well, the thing is, we didn't really have that mindset, because you just grow up and your parents just say, "Don't do this, don't do that," and stupid example, but when we were young, we didn't shower every day, because my parents thought, or especially my father thought, that's nonsense. It's a lot of water to shower, and if you shower 4 days a week, it's fine, and for the rest you can just wash yourself, and you won't stink, you won't smell, you will still be clean, and that was of course not something that we liked. So it was not like, oh, we have such a sustainable mindset. It was just forced upon us. And then later on you understand, like, oh, apparently that's very sustainable. But we didn't know about it. I mean, it was but I think if you if you grow up like that, then it's I think it somehow stays with you, because it's part of your routine, part of your habits, and I think that I actually at the end also made my professional life about sustainability. Maybe I don't know why. Probably also because I was brought up like that. But it's not like, oh yeah, I was brought up like this. This is so important. So now I'm also going to do my, organize my professional life around that. It was also an interest that I actually agreed. Oh yeah, I think that's indeed important. And then later on, you discover that there is actually a huge problem in the world. But that was actually, you discover it later on. First, it's like common sense, and then later on, there's actually a huge issue. Because before it was always really little. My British parents said it's a waste to use all this plastic, etc. But I've never heard about a plastic soup. But if you see it with your own eyes and you see how much plastic was used for products, you could actually tell that he was right, And then later on, you discover, there's a plastic soup. But back then, we didn't know that.
Yeah, so there was more of a unconscious upbringing in that sense.
Yeah, I think it's sustainability in a lot of things is just common sense.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
Yeah, but it's far in between sometimes. Just common sense in the world in general. Let me put the mic.
Oh.
It should work.
Okay.
Better? We're all good. I think we're all good. Just to be sure I don't have to edit a lot of things afterwards.
Yeah.
But the step from professional career in the financial sector to doing your own thing can be quite a step in the deep waters. I can imagine. Or how was that for you, that change, or why did you want to do your own thing while you were working in the financial sector?
Well, I actually had a pretty good job in the financial sector. I also had a really nice job and also really nice colleagues. But it's also, then you work there for 8 years, and it's like, am I going to do this my whole life? Am I going to stay in corporate my whole life? Or should I also try something totally different, maybe? Maybe I don't like everything that I see in a corporate world. So I also thought after 8 years, like, okay, maybe it's good to change things and discover more than this world. And then I thought, okay, either I can just maybe do a total different job or go to another company. But then I already had that magazine, and I had some initial first ideas around maybe a gift card, around maybe loyalty, or around. So I thought, okay, if I really want to do something different, I want to learn something totally different, and then maybe this is the moment to do it, because then, if you take another corporate job, then before you're 4 or 5 years further, you have kids, you have a house, you have a mortgage, you have everything, and then it will probably become harder and harder to really change things. So I thought, let's. I have this kind of idea. Let's see if I can pull it off.
Did you also do it on the side when you had the job still, the magazine?
Yeah. It was always. It was also always on the side. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And then you have to make a decision like, oh, this is taking too much of my time each week. Did that time come for you as well, where you're like, okay, I'm spending so much time on the magazine now, it's kind of interfering with the regular job? Or?
No, not really, because you could really say, okay, I can only do this so much articles in a week, and it was also really more. I always see it as my sort of, it was kind of also the money that I put in. It was not that much money, but there was, of course, you have the website, you need photographers, etc. Yeah. So I also thought it, in hindsight, it was also learning money, because I met so many people, I interviewed so many people. Everything that I read, I turned into articles, because I thought it was interesting and fun, and people actually read it. But on the moment it was just like, okay, you come on this crossroad, like, okay, I have this magazine, I have some first ideas, I have this job, but am I going to do this for another 8 years? So it just made sense to sort of say, okay, we're gonna change things, gonna turn things around, and no regrets.
How was that journey for you? Because I can see it happening where it's in the beginning very difficult to get things off the ground. How was that experience for you? Like the first few years? Was it like the first 2 years? How was that for you?
Well, I think one thing I underestimated is that if you come from a job where you have already fairly high pay, not that high, but fairly high pay, and then go do something in a completely different sector, completely on your own, completely from scratch, then the life that you've used to, the income and the standards that you're used to, are going to be really different.
Yeah.
So that was, and sometimes if I see students that come, from school and already start their own business, because I don't know, I come from a time that's like, oh yeah, it's good to first do a real job, etc. But sometimes I'm like, I look at them like, well, if you have an idea and if you have a skill, you don't per se need 8 years of work experience. You can also just start and doing it, and then your company will grow with you, or you will get more experiences. And because I had 8 years work experience, but it was a total different sector, so there were a lot of things I had to had to learn. There were a lot of skills I may have, but definitely couldn't use when I started my own company. So I think that was it was fine, but I think that idea like, oh, you need work experience before you start your own company. Well, maybe if you start a consultancy company, but not. For this company, I think, you could have also probably have started when you were right after school and you were just smart and you were just committed. And so I think that's what that changed my mind a little bit. Like, if I now advise someone who wants to start an own company, I had that recently, and she was like, oh, maybe I should work more years. I was like, if you have an idea and you want it, just go for it. You don't need to work 2 years, not necessarily. Yeah, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they also get the lifestyle inflation because you earn a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
When if you're a student, you probably don't have a lot of money. So if you are used to that and then you start your own business and you don't take any pay for a few years, it's like, I'm used to it, so it doesn't really matter.
That's fine. Yeah, no, that's true. So then you kind of grow with your business, and then it's not like, oh, you have the salary down, bam, okay, you have practically nothing, and then like, okay, great, like, entrepreneurship.
Yeah, you're like, I can usually go out for dinner like 2 times a week, and they're like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna survive the month.
Yeah, so that's I think that was in general, I think it enriched my life, because first you have your own social contacts and you have this corporate life, but as soon as you start your own business, you meet so many people. I never have met you without my business, of course. So you meet so many people you would never met in your own social network, because those people aren't there. And you just learn that everything around you has to be created, made by hand, and cost money, and everything what you sell or what you make needs to come back in sales, otherwise it won't work for you. Well, before, when you work corporate life, you just have your salary and it's fine. But if I now work and I make an investment, I realize, how many gift cards do I have to sell for this? Or, okay, how many PR assignments do you have to get this to make this investment work? And there was not a way of thinking I had when I still had my when I still worked as an employee. You know that, of course, someone needs to make the money, but it was just not you, so it was not really something you really had to care about. Yeah.
It's just a different perspective that you get if you are responsible for getting the money in to keep the business afloat.
Yeah, but also one of these really small things that I realized, if you look at a garment, for instance, and you're like, oh, that's expensive. But then you also have to be aware of that there's already 20% fat you have to extract for that entrepreneur.
Definitely.
That's 21% is a lot.
Yeah. Can you please lower that? That'd be great.
So that was one of these things I've never really thought about when I was still working at a payroll. But when I sort of got around it, when I had to make my own money, including VAT, non-VAT, etc., I was like, oh shit, everything I see now in the shops, I almost automatically extract 21% VAT, because that's not what that entrepreneur is earning per se. So those are these little things I just started look a little bit different to the world than when I was just still working on a payroll.
Yeah. Probably change your perspective a lot if you actually go through the finances and have to figure out like how to make it work and how to make sure that you can survive the month, have enough money to pay everyone off that you're working with.
Yeah. Well, probably if you see a shirt of a certain quality and then you're like, how did they do that? Because you know how much transport costs, the design, the fabrics, packaging. So, and I think now when I look at products, you automatically already see it. Well, before I that was not something that was there on my mind, and now I don't even have to think about it. I just see it because I'm like, okay, but that's it gave me a different perspective on how I look at the world, and I think that's it made it more interesting also. Yeah,
and more realistic in some sense as well, to be able to spot like, okay, this is something that's possible and this is not possible, right? If you already have a t-shirt of €3 or something that you see somewhere, like, all right, they have to subtract the 20% of it. It's really becoming a really cheap product. So how can that be made, right?
Yeah, no, true. And then, of course, when it's in bulk, it's all different. But some of the prices, you're just like, this is almost impossible if you calculate transport, all of these things.
Yeah. I think that's a big issue. And how did the translation for you come from because you already had the idea for gift cards when you were starting with the magazine, or was it something that came along the way? Or like, hey, this is a gap I can fill up with my idea.
Yeah, it came along the way. Like when you talk to people, not just for the magazine, but also to friends sometimes. People would be like, oh, yeah, it would be nice if, for Sinterklaas or something, or for at work. And then, it sort of stays with you, and then you think a little bit about it, and then someone else mentions it, or so it was also a slow process, because first when someone mentioned it, I was like, gift card, I don't know, but later on I thought, oh yeah, but with a gift card I can also work together with workshops, style coaches. It doesn't have to be about buying a product. It can be much, much more. So because I didn't want to have a business that was dependent on selling stuff, and not that I'm against selling stuff, but I thought, I don't know if I want to do that. I want to just tell a story that's a little bit, has a broader sustainability story. And then I thought, oh yeah, but I can work together with fashion rental, fashion lease, and then I can actually show all the different options there are with a gift card. And that's when I thought, okay, this could be an interesting product to showcase the solutions that are already there.
Yeah, why create another solution where there's already so much out there? Why not give them a platform to help them out?
Yeah, exactly. Although there are, of course, a lot of people that have a platform, right?
Still that, but I mean, in general, there's not that many sustainable fashion gift cards out there.
No.
Right?
No,
you have the name, so
that's true. No, and in general, there are not so many sustainable gift cards in general, because the margins are very low. I can tell you.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I mean, I see it from the other side, so I already know what's happening there. And of course, it's just basically like a affiliate model, almost commission model. And you need a lot of volume to make that happen. Was that something that you were scared of in the beginning, or like, okay, this is something I'll just see where it ends up? What was the idea?
Well, of course you make a business plan and you make a financial plan, but I think it's one of these things, like, if you would have known it before you started, you probably have never started. So I think there was before I started, it was more theory, and when I was actually doing it, it was reality. And I thought, fuck, how am I going to do this? But I was already doing it, so I had to make it work.
There's no way back then if you already invested and started with it.
So I read, of course, a lot of reports about the gift card market and all of that, but then if it's theory somehow, you're still, of course, like, oh, I'm going to do this, and this is nice, it's a nice proposition, I can reach a lot of people with it, etc. So you're also kind of in this high, but then it's on the market, and then you're like, but it's probably good that I didn't thought about that, because otherwise you probably have never started, and I'm still here. So
yeah, exactly, and I'm happy to hear that you're still here in that sense, and also I think there is a need for it. It really depends on what timing there is for the market as well, because there's a lot of corporate gifts. Right now is the time, I think, that a lot of these corporations are buying gift cards or making sure that employees can do things. So there's also this cycle, I can imagine, each year, right? Mm-hmm. That you have like a really busy time and the rest of the year is not that busy. Is it also the case for you right now, or?
Yeah. So Christmas in general is the most busiest time. Yeah. But then usually it's more, I think usually it's more with the January and February it will get really, really busy, because end of November, December, sales really, really kicks off, and then all your administration and people who are actually then spending the gift card, because when they buy it, it's just automatically. Yep. But when they, of course, want to redeem it, they may have questions, so then it gets a bit busier with customer service, and then you have to, of course, do all your admin of all the gift cards that you sold and are redeemed, and that's all coming in usually in the new year. So that's mostly when it's really, really busy. But it's an automated process. So we can even automate it even more, but I think that's more of maybe a next step or something, to really automate everything, because of course automation also costs money. So it's like, okay, when do I really gonna fully automate it, and then how? So until now, it's like 75% is automated or something.
That's quite a bit already. And that's the main aim, to make it completely automated, so it just works on its own. You don't have to spend a lot of time on the back end.
Something with the administration could be more automated. If it was Christmas every month, we would have definitely automated it.
Yeah.
But because the summer is like August is there's nothing much happening.
Yeah.
Also because a lot of gift cards are sold because of birthdays, goodbyes with companies, and in the summer there's not that many people doing their birthdays because they're on holiday. And also the business world is also a little bit low down, so that's summers is usually are slow. So it's really more from end of November until end of March, beginning of April. Those are usually the months that do really, really good.
Yeah, those are the busy times for you. And apart from automation, are there other like things that you have set your eyes on in the coming years for the gift card? What are your like future plans with it?
Well, to be honest, I started a gift card not because I was so passionate about gift cards. The reason is, of course, that I really believe that we should change our consumption behavior. And that doesn't mean that we're going to restrict people in a lot of things. We can actually offer much more. There's if you look at sustainable fashion and lifestyle, there are much more ways to consume products and clothing, like rental, thrifting, leasing, capsule wardrobes, also just buying fashion, of course. So, and my aim is more to get people acquainted with all these models, and also to get them acquainted with fashion that is produced in an honest way and a sustainable way. And the gift card is, I think, a really nice tool to do that, to give people a present and say, okay, you're not entirely sure what you actually want, but this is actually something that, you like fashion, lifestyle, you can definitely find something with this gift card that you like, which is also sustainable. And because you have a lot of business to business sales, quite easily reach also a lot of people that not per se in the green bubble, but are kind of like interested. And then when they can choose or even get it from their employer, they have it, and they of course, we're Dutch, we want to spend Dutch free money. And then they come on the website and see all these possibilities, and that's what I like about the gift card. And we don't sell products. Some gift cards do sell products, but I really want people to really sort of discover all those brands, and also get like a get to know, for instance, Iron Roots, and say, hey, but this is really cool sports brand, and maybe I even like it better than Nike on a certain moment. And that you kind of help shifting brand preference from maybe the giants that not always do as good, although they're also, of course, making progress, but also get them to see other brands and maybe consider brand preference for more sustainable brands. I think that is more my goal, and the gift card can help reach that goal. So that's also why we're launching also a PR program, to just make sure that from different channels people get more acquainted with sustainable fashion in what form, whether it's brands, shops, rental, or do it yourself, etc. And then of course there's always this gift card in between, because the brands we're working with all, of course, are part of the gift card, and then we can sort of do their help do their PR, or and do commercial partnerships with like nice media, where we can then sort of link all the partnering brands with, so that you kind of have this cycle of the brands get a little bit more brand awareness, which makes the gift card more relevant for people. And then when they're on the gift card, they even explore more or discover more brands. And that's good for the brands, because they get, again, a little bit more exposure. So it's kind of this cycle that I hope to accelerate coming years.
Sounds pretty awesome. I mean, we haven't spoken yet at all about that part, so that's also interesting to learn for us how that will plan out. So basically, we'll help people with press then, like new brands or companies that need some help in regards to writing messages for product launches or just in general new projects.
Well, I think one of the things people always say, of course, PR is very expensive.
Yeah.
Paid media is very expensive. But I think if we work together more as a collective, we can get much more out of it. So what the new concept is that actually people just pay a little bit more money than they would usually do when they connect with the gift card, but now they pay a bit more, and with that more money we have a budget to actually go to media and say, hey, can we do some partnerships, because we actually have a budget. Well, if you go there as a single brand, then all your money is spent, and because what the nice thing is with the gift card, it's really easy for us to promote more brands. If you're a PR agent, it's sometimes difficult to promote more brands at once because you work for a brand. But for the gift card, and we already do this more on ad hoc basis the last 2 years, it's really easy. You can say, hey, we have a gift card. Oh, where you can redeem it. Oh, you can redeem it here, here, here. Oh, and did you know you can also redeem it here, here, and here. It's very natural because of the product. And that's what we've done already the last 2 years, but more if there was an opportunity or whether I have an idea, but now we just want to do it a bit more organized.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Sounds really cool. I think it'll help a lot of smaller brands to, get them in a certain place where there's more exposure instead of them just spending the whole ad budget. Because sometimes we get like promotional offers for magazines or whatever, and it's so expensive.
It's really,
It's like, I don't know what I think that our marketing budget is, but it's certainly not this.
No, true. It is. So, but I think, if you work together, I think you can reach a bit more. And what we also, because of course I didn't want to do like I don't want to become like this standard PR agency. Yep. So before we developed kind of the concept is that we're gonna really finalize everything this month is the idea. But we, together with some girls that also sometimes work with me, we looked at fashion and lifestyle magazines in the Netherlands, and we counted how many times fashion brands were mentioned. And, we listed that. And then we already also said, okay, is this a brand that's really committed to sustainability or really founded in their DNA? Okay, we want to make fashion good. Or is this like a standard brand, or is it really a brand in transition? And if you then look at the Dutch media landscape and fashion and lifestyle magazines, then there's, the percentage of sustainable brands, even the bigger brands that are in transition, is just really, really low. It's really, really low. So that's also one of our goals, because we're in talks with a few media partners that it's not like, okay, hey, we have a budget here, we can work with you. It's more like, yes, okay, we also have a budget because, we also understand everyone needs money to make sure that something gets printed. But our aim is really to sort of make sure that the percentage of sustainable brands that you cover now will increase. And we do that via free publicity, but also via commercial partnerships. And, we have all these brands linked to us. So, please use and discover them, and then replace the brands that are really polluting maybe with brands that are doing much, much better. And then hopefully after 1 or 2, 3 years, you can actually say, okay, when we started in 2023, the percentage of sustainable brands in these magazines were like, less. Now it's definitely less than 10%, but we helped increase it maybe to, 14% or something. That would be great.
Yeah. And it would also be, I think, beneficial for the magazines themselves, because it also helps them, reach further goals into the future, and you actually enable them to also showcase more sustainable products that might be more in line with their own like values and things that they portray into the future. I'm not sure if that's really a thing within those magazines, but I can imagine that.
Well, at least I think if you can show that you're doing something with sustainability, and it actually is also is the products that you show are of certain quality, then it always, I think, is a good story.
Yep, definitely.
So, and that's also why we are, with asking our partners to join with on this new route. We're also not asking everyone, because I think if you work together with some media partners, it's also important that the overall quality of the partners should be really high. And so we're also now a little bit more strict, because we got a lot of requests of joining the gift card, and for about a year we almost didn't accept anyone, because we were just considering how we want to move forward. But now we're also sometimes rejecting people, because I do think and see, okay, what you're doing sustainability wise is really, really nice, but we also live in a world that is visually, and we have to also at the end sell stuff. And if you don't have good imagery, if your website isn't really working well or really looks like it's from the 19s, that doesn't bring us further as sustainable fashion community as a whole. So I think we also should be a little bit more critical. Like, okay, if we really want to make impact, if we really want to grow, we also should professionalize in some ways.
Yeah. I always make the comparison between in the electric vehicle world, right? You have the Prius and you have the Tesla. I mean, the Prius was sustainable, but it looked like shit, right? Nobody really wanted to drive one. It became more of a meme if you had one. And it was kind of functional, but not yet really, because of like a few miles you can ride in it. But then Tesla came along, and whatever people think about the company, they did make something that was sustainable. Design-wise, it looks awesome, right? Especially when they started out, there was no car like it, and it's very functional. And I think that's people, especially in the sustainability space, sometimes forget that there's sustainability itself doesn't sell. There's a really small percentage of people who really die hard and really believes in something, but the bigger percentage of people that we also have to convince to make changes in their habits also need to, or from our perspective, we need to understand that they also want something that looks good and performs well, that also has something that adds something on to their life. And whether that be cool brand images or just a nice brand in general, or better products in general, there needs to be a bit more than just sustainability, I feel like. Is it also something that you...
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not going to wear something that I don't like and I think is ugly. Yep. So, but I think the difference is that I actually do all the effort, also before that I started the company, we both do the effort to really look for a brand that is sustainable and is nice, and spend time on that, and are willing to spend more money on that. But probably you also not going to wear something you don't like. So
true.
But you will just do the effort to find something you do like. But most of the consumers are not as committed. Maybe they are about food, could be, but they're maybe not as passionate about fashion. So they don't do the effort to go online and search for 4 hours.
Yeah, or even learn a lot of the different things, right? In food, it's something that you consume. It might be a bit more easy to say, like, oh yeah, this is organic, this is not, right? The differentiation. But in fashion, I mean, talk about certifications and stuff. For us, it's even sometimes difficult to find out, okay, what is actually good and what is kind of like greenwashing, if you want to call it that. But for consumers, it can be very difficult to figure out, okay, I'm interested in this brand and they claim this, or they have this, what they say about their products. But is that really the case, or what is important? What kind of metrics do you need to look at? So, it might also be the case. It's just in some sense more difficult industry to understand for consumers compared to food, maybe, in some sense.
Yeah. No, so I think definitely just sustainability. I also do believe that isn't enough to sell it to the market, and not per se sell, and you have to buy clothes, but also it could also be fashion rental or different ways of consuming. If you cannot really show this is easy, or this is looks good, or tell a story that's enticing, then you won't get people to get into this, to get more into the scene. So yeah, we're getting a bit more stricter also on that side.
That's good, I think. And in regards to brands, you spoke a bit before we started the show, but what do you see some changes in the sustainability brand space? Like we mentioned earlier, that a lot of brands just go out of business. Is this something that you worry for in the future, that's going to happen more, or?
Well, yes, some people go out of business sometimes because they also, have done it a few years and want something else. But I do worry in a sense that brands need also time to grow and to create brand awareness. It doesn't come overnight usually. And so if a brand starts and 4 years later stops, then it doesn't have time to mature or to reach this bigger audience. So yeah, lately we've seen some brands that either went out of business or just stopped their business for valid reasons. But if you have that all the time, that new brands come up because they're passionate about it, and then 4 years later they stop, then I think then at least sustainable brands would never get to a point that they really can become big or take some market share, if that's if that would even work. But so in that sense, I think that is a little bit worrying. Like for instance, also with Nike, I mean, these brands are big and people are maybe something commenting on it, or H&M, but they're here for years. So people have, it's not just a black t-shirt. You also buy, to some extent, an identity, or you associate with some sort of group that also buys that brand. So it's more than just the t-shirt, and that it takes time to have people also have that association or feeling with your brand. If you just be around 3 years, that's pretty difficult. So if sustainable brands come and go, just either, if you cycle for a few years, then I'm afraid there are not enough brands that come to a point that they reached a lot of customers that can have a sort of brand preference for them and choose an alternative to, for instance, fast or ultra fast fashion. But there are a few brands, of course, that like Veja is I think is a really good example, but they're also here for a few years. They also didn't make it overnight, but Gonia is here for years. So yeah, it also shows you need a long breath to make sure that we come to that you reach enough customers that you can really make impact. So that's something I'm like, I hope that there are brands that can somehow be there for the long run.
It's good motivation for us as well, I think, to in some dark days to just think like, hey, we just need to hold them a bit longer, and better days will come in some sense. And I also think like if a lot of those brands don't make it, whether it be footwear like Veja or any other fashion, this also doesn't put any pressure on the bigger brands, right? If there's an upcoming brand that does things a lot like in a different way, then it also puts pressure on the other brands to say like, hey, maybe you see this other brand coming up, a lot of people from our customer base go there, so maybe we should also change things. So I think it would be better in general for everyone if that were the case. But yeah, you know, as no one else, like this is a really difficult business to run, and also makes it difficult to grow the business and get to a certain level where you're like, okay, we can finally build something from this.
And because you're also now around for a few years,
yep.
So let's say if you look into 5 years, so then where do you hope to be with Ironwood?
Good question. I think for us, we don't need to be like the next Nike or Adidas. We don't have that ambition. I think for us, it lies more into having a good running business, which does mean we do have, get a lot more money coming in. But I think the big mission for us is to show that we can do things in a different way. So to see what kind of technologies are available or other startups and put that to the market through our brand. So the Fungi t-shirts that we did earlier this year, for example, that's a nice example where I see our brand in the future where there'll be multiple innovations that might be too expensive or might be still in early phase to get to a bigger market. And then I see the brand as something of a place where we can showcase it. We're like, hey, you can do things in a different way if you just put energy into it. So I think that be it for us. And yeah, I need like 1,000 people company to run. I think if we have like a cool small team, make awesome products and show that we can do something different, I think that'd be a really cool place to stay in. But yeah, like you mentioned, it's very difficult to say before, like, oh, this is the plan and we're going to go here, because you never know what's going to happen. But having that kind of vague vision, like, hey, this is where we're going, I think is the most important for us to keep it up. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but that's just the mission that we have for now, is to just keep on improving everything.
Yeah, I was recently at the round table, and it was also about like, okay, we don't want shops with 80 square meters. We want shops with 8,000 square meters. But also to me, it's not per se in size.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big brand's not per se big in size. It can also be big in people's minds.
Yep.
And I think that's, I don't know exactly how that will exactly work, but I think for me, sustainable fashion is not like we want to build a next Nike in size. We want to build the next Nike maybe in the brand awareness or the brand preference, or the people really like, hey, these are really cool brands. And so I don't think we should copy the current fashion world than sustainable. I think that needs to be really be different.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, it was more of a market share perspective. Like in the end, I hope that the complete market shrinks because people will just buy less and more high quality, and then obviously there will still be market shares to be shared by then. And I think we don't want to have like a big share of that future market, which is hopefully less about consumerism, more about all the other business models that we spoke about earlier. But even then, I think just for us, like a small percentage and being like a forefront runner, I think will be the coolest thing to see. But in general, I think sportswear has a long way to come when it comes to leasing products or renting out sportswear, because it's more like almost underwear, right? It's very personal. People sweat in it. It's not like a jacket or a dress that you wear once to a party or something, true. I think. But maybe you have a different perspective on that, but that's how I currently see sportswear in those other business models.
Yeah, no, I think that's also different. And I think in general, people wear their sportswear, I think more often, either because you just have one set and you just go to the gym, I don't know, once a week, and you wash it, you wear it again. Or for instance, my boyfriend, he is, he sports like 3-4 times a week or something. So he has more sportswear than actual clothes. But yeah, he actually wears it a lot. But he can also wear it once because he just sweats a lot. So I think that's totally different than just regular clothes that you just wear once to a party, and then you don't really sweat in it because you just have, I don't know, sit down, drink cocktails all night. Yep. You can just easily wear it again. So yeah, definitely I think for sportswear that's a different case. Yeah.
Might be a bit difficult, but hopefully in the future people's minds change in that regard as well, and we'll have that happening. So, in regards to the business models, are there also like other cool things that you see happening, whether it be shift in consumer mindset or a different way of producing stuff that will drive the industry forward in a positive way? Are there any things that you see like upcoming in the coming years?
Well, to be honest, I think a lot of people at this moment, of course, they know it. You see that from all research, like a lot of, always a high percentage is willing to do so, or is willing even sometimes to pay something extra, or finds that we need to care better for the planet. But then there's also a lot of research that says, but then we don't really do it yet. So there's still a really big gap between, yes, we know there's something going on in the world and we need to change our consumption behavior, but actually doing it is just really difficult for a lot of people, which I also understand. And I see that there's of course a lot of, for instance, subsidies for development of new materials, and Sometimes also new business models, but I also see there's not a lot of subsidy, or almost none, for promotion, of course. And sometimes I think that the government who distribute subsidies sometimes underestimate that all those brands that have these new fabrics, these really nice social ateliers where people work, very inclusive, but all those brands do have to sell their stuff, and that's also not easy always. So, but then sometimes they come to me and say, okay, can then we join maybe your platform? Oh yes, we actually want to join your PR program because we actually have to sell our stuff. And we learned from the last 2-3 years that it's actually not easy. But then of course the subsidy is all only for the developing the fabrics or etc. So they still don't have any marketing budget left because subsidy is earmarked for developing those new, I don't know, yarn, whatever. And then they don't have the power to actually say, hey, what we're doing is actually really great, come to us. So sometimes I think people underestimated the power of communication, especially in this current world. I think and I see so many cool brands that do really good work and have lovely products, and nobody knows them. Or we know them.
Yeah, exactly. In our bubble, they're quite known, but outside of the bubble, yeah.
So I think it would definitely help somehow if, that's also why I started PR program as a collective program to really, hopefully show like, hey, there's this whole community of people that does awesome things, and let's then try put some money together and then try to get more out of it. I think that's a bit of an I see a bit of an issue that there's the good brands keep on growing, they come and go, but we still don't get out of this vicious circle that we're there, we try, and then the entrepreneur has a hard time, maybe stops and don't gets to that next level.
Yeah, and there's also probably a reason why big brands spend a lot on advertising, right? A lot of big budgets on the advertising because it works, right? It helps to keep people on top of mind on your brand. And there are, like you mentioned, Veja or Allbirds or whatever, some other brands that are out there that are already big. They've figured out a way to make that happen, I guess.
Yeah, but even because Veja always says we don't do ads, but if you look at the number of celebrities that actually wear their stuff, I mean, they wear the stuff because probably someone sent it to them.
Yeah,
it's when you don't promote yourself, it's really hard for a lot of people to get your stuff done. It's word of mouth, but usually you have to initiate something that people, or you have maybe a really good friend but in general, you have to do something. And if you don't spend ad money, then you give away your product, or you spend a lot of money on free publicity. Yep. But also that is not free because your employee you have to pay, or your PR agency you have to pay. That's not ad money, but it's still money that goes into promotion.
Yep. I should get them on the podcast and figure out how they get that started because I also saw that message somewhere. I was like, yeah, but you do indeed give away a lot of products probably to people, and there's no way that there's like zero effort there to get people to your store because no one is going to come out of there because they just walk by and like, oh, this is so awesome, I'm going to tell my friends about it. Doesn't usually work that way. You have to have something invested in.
Maybe they're the unique, the exception, but but then they're really the exception. Even Patagonia, does something to make sure that people knows that they're there. So ad money is of course a very limited way to say we don't do anything on promotion because PR giving away products, it's also giving away money, but just in a different way.
Yep.
This doesn't call ad money.
Yeah, but it's still in that same area of you're spending money to get people to what you're doing.
Yeah, if you give away your products, you also give away money.
Definitely. Yeah. That's a good way to think about that. So, in general, is there like some cool things that you like on a nice positive note, that you see where the industry is going, or have some, I don't know, some projects that you came across in the past few months that you're really excited about and want to share with the listeners?
Well, there are tons of projects and entrepreneurs that do wonderful things. I think there's no lack of projects. It's so, yeah, if it's from the development of, for instance, new material. I saw that. I think saw on LinkedIn. I was in a sort of like accelerator program with a girl that's really focusing on making yarns from hair from humans.
Interesting.
That's people have been doing this for a few years, but yeah, she really focused on that, and she got featured in some magazine or something. So everyone was like, "Oh wow, really great!" Or she was nominated for some kind of award. So you see really cool things that are somehow taking off. Or for instance, the swap shop that's now nominated, I think the coolest brand or something, which is also, I think, a really nice concept, the whole swapping idea. And that also sort of slowly or surely also seems to take off, and it's simple, people understand it. So yeah, there are a lot of I think, and also some like a brand that's recently also joined the gift card that makes the products in India. The quality, when I saw the other products in real life, I thought, wow, this is really, really, really nice. So there are so many positive stories. I think it's just a matter of, yeah, hopefully more people see it and make different choices, that somehow we can positively nudge them. And of course, I think legislation. Well, I think legislation is not per se the holy grail. I mean, in fashion, there's a lot of new legislation coming up, but in the financial world, for years there's a lot of legislation. It's not that they're more sustainable or anything. So, but it does help to set a more equal playing field, and at least force companies to really, with the whole new CSRD, so the Corporate Social Responsibility Directive, that brands really have to show how the supply chains really have to be transparent about their supply chains and have to report on that. That doesn't, of course, immediately mean that they are more sustainable. It means that they have insight in how their supply chain works. And there are other laws that then you could maybe give them fines or whatever, but just making it more transparent doesn't mean it makes more sustainable, but it also means that those companies, from their core business processes, have to look at how they produce. So I think those are really good steps, but I think it will take a bit longer to really make that real change, because if you just have more transparency, but there is no incentive to do better, because consumers are not gonna, read annual reports. I will read annual reports because I've made annual reports for 3 years, so I have this weird interest. But so they have this annual report, and then it's probably up to media to maybe sort of, say, hey, we've read it, and you see how they produce. It's really not sustainable, but just transparency alone is not enough. Oh, now it's not getting a positive story again.
A realistic
but
story.
I think that there's more legislation, as long as we're not thinking it's the holy grail. I think that's really good. It also sets the tone and the standard, like, okay, as society, we're not accepting this anymore, that you don't know where your products come from. You have to do your homework. I think that's really positive.
Yeah, and I think that also makes people more aware, and then hopefully that'll drive change if people become more aware about more practices or things that are not going in the right direction.
Hopefully at the end it will definitely drive change. At least it's transparent. So if media or authorities then make the next step, like, okay, we see that you're not doing enough to that you're not on a pathway of 1.5 degrees, for instance, but there needs to be a consequence after being transparent.
Yeah, otherwise it's just a nice front of like, oh, look at us being transparent, but it doesn't mean anything in some sense.
It's of course when the Fashion Revolution Index was what they were sort of criticized on a certain moment, because H&M, for instance, was like top performing because H&M indeed was very transparent, but it doesn't mean that they're very sustainable. But the Fashion Transparency Index, Fashion Revolution, was about transparency. So it made sense that they were leading the pack. And but then people sort of got like, how can be H&M on such a high, well, because sustainability and transparency are not the same thing.
Yeah, but they do get intertwined or put together in some way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a requisite to be sustainable, of course.
True.
Because if you don't know where your products are made, even though they were made sustainable, you can never claim it.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Cool, awesome insights. So, in regards to the fashion gift card, that's the main project still right now that you're working on.
Yeah,
with the PR combined, obviously.
Yeah, that's all what I'm working on.
Yeah,
kind of.
I mean, it's already plenty of time that you're spending on that. So, cool. So, where can people find it if they want to learn more or keep an eye out for all the cool things that are coming up in?
Just on the website. So that's sustainablefashiongiftcard.nl.
Awesome, and we'll also link to it in the descriptions and everywhere, so people can have a look. And it's been awesome to catch up. Thanks so much for your time and sharing all the stories. Also cool to learn a bit more about your whole past. And can't wait to see where things end up. And hopefully we'll be working together for a long time to come.
Yeah, hope so too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a good day. Bye bye.